So, good morning, guys. This is live from Gothenburg, Sweden. It's 6 a.m. in the morning, and yeah, it's a beautiful Friday uh, in the Swedish summer. So, I just had to wake up and do my daily routines, which is coffee, and then plan the day and so on, and just reflect on the week that has passed because we are experiencing a very nice momentum right now, which has been lasting for a couple of months actually. So yeah, we just keep pushing the business. Now, we always talk about this, that coffee is for closers, and we can joke about it, but basically I think there is a hidden truth within that statement, because actually coffee is for closers, and by saying that, I mean that it's like the reward that we give us, because usually we don't talk so much about closing the deal. We talk about everything else. We talk about feeling good, and we talk about performance, we talk about questions to ask, we talk about mindset, we talk about all these kind of things, but we rarely just talk about closing the deal. Closing the deal is an art itself, but I would say that it's definitely primarily an attitude, because if you want to close the deal, it starts with you. It starts with your attitude from the very beginning of the deal that you want to sell, and there is no shortcuts. There is no magic bullets when it comes to sales. Usually we tend, and especially here in Scandinavia, but I know in other cultures as well, we talk and we tend to do everything prior to the close, but then when it's time to close the deal, we kind of, pull back, and we start to be a bit ashamed to ask for the deal itself. So not to make this too long of a video, I just want to give you five of my five things that you can put on your list if you want to close more deals. Then here's my five tips for you guys. So first of all, what customer do you want? Okay, and why? This is one thing that I can see a lot of salespeople, but a lot of entrepreneurs, especially a lot of entrepreneurs, startups especially, all over the world, when they do their marketing plan, they kind of leave that out. They don't look at the customers. They do a marketing plan, yes, but it's still like shooting a shotgun in the space. You hit everything and nothing. But what you really need is a laser focus. You can't go out there and say, oh, I'm going to close everyone and everything. I would say that is a big mistake, because then you get split vision, and you don't get focus. So you need to really identify what customer do you want, and ask yourself why. Why is that customer something that you want? Because this customer, usually it tends to be how to say, if you know what customers you want and you know why, then you can answer the next question, because that is basically why I'm saying this. So that is the first one. Write that down. What customer do you want, and why do you want it? Now, to answer the why, then you can ask yourself this one: what is the true value that you can bring? And you guys heard me saying this before, but what is the true value that you can bring to these customers, and why? Now, the why is always tricky, but it gives you a reason to answer these questions with a depth, not just through your products or services that everybody else is doing. The whole concept of story selling, for an example, is that you create you put the whole product or service in a context, so the customer can understand it from a bigger perspective or broader perspective. And if you ask yourself why prior to these questions, then you will definitely get an idea of how this will benefit your customers on a much deeper level. So, first question, what customers do you want and why? The second question, what is the true value that you can bring and why? Now, the third is, except for the price, what other value is there in the deal for the customer and why? Now, this can be a tricky one, but why I want you to answer that before you sit down with your customer or your prospect is that once you answer this one, you can always be prepared for whatever reason they have to not sign the deal now or whatever. Because usually when we are setting up a sit down to close the deal, what I find is that a lot of entrepreneurs are very poorly prepared for these meetings. They are just going in there with one focus, and that's from their own perspective, seeing the deal benefiting the customers on a very narrow space. But if we tend to be very much more prepared for these meetings, knowing the circumstances, knowing everything around the customer, knowing every sidestep that is possible for this discussion to end up in, then of course you can answer all the questions that the customers have, or erase any doubts, and you can of course go for the deal. So the third question is, except for the price, what other value is there in this deal and why? Now, the fourth one is not a question, but that's where the attitude comes into play. I see so many entrepreneurs and I see so many salespeople do the same thing. They work as they had all the time in the world, and they create nothing but slow momentum. When you work in business and when you work in sales, you need to understand that there is a certain kind of level of urgency that you have to create, and this urgency is basically something you need in order to, motion creates emotion, and this is something that I see a lot of people, they tend to lose their prospects along the way, only because they take too much time. And I've done this mistake so many times myself. But you need to have the attitude that, listen, you have to be on your toes. You don't win a fight by just walking around and doing nothing. You have to have the attitude and create urgency. You have to want to win the deal. So create urgency, but the difference between being being an asshole basically and unprofessional and being professional is, of course, that you ask questions, you work with the customer, not against. It's not you against the customer, it's or the prospect. It's you two is going to create a win-win situation. 1 + 1 is going to be 3. So of course you need to be professional in that sense, in that kind of way as well. But if you don't create urgency, the deal will tend to become boring. And we decide on feelings. We decide on feelings that gets us excited. We decide on a feeling that of curiosity and so on. So if we don't create these feelings in a business meeting, then usually the prospect tends to float away. And I see this happening so many times, especially in the startup and business entrepreneur community, because they are not skilled enough to create urgency in a way. But salespeople tend to be on the other side of the road. They get too fired up. So you need to be smart and try to feel what kind of personality are you dealing with? Because if you're dealing with a person that is more of a person that needs facts on the table, for an example, then of course you have to respect that, and within the when it's time to close the deal, you talk about, you bring some facts to the table as well, because that makes the customer calm, and it creates trust. All right. But if you have a person that is quite, impatient, and they are the alpha people, they just want, people, they just want things to happen, then you can't just sit around and just talk. Then just go straight forward. And so all these keys are essential for you to close more deals, and if you do that, this is quite simple. It only takes a little bit more patience, a little bit more of a thought process around your customer base, and you will see for yourself, you're going to create so much more business for you. So, and finally, the fifth one, and this is something that amazes me, that people, I don't know why they don't do it, but ask for the deal. Guys, you have to ask for the deal. I don't know why there is so many entrepreneurs, so many business people out there. They talk about this and that, so on and so on, and they kind of sit and wait for the client or the potential client to basically come to them. But tell you what, that is not going to happen. That is not going to be the case, because if you just sit around and wait, it won't happen. You have to ask for the deal. You have to close the deal. You have to ask buying questions. And all these kind of things, you can find that on vimentisvip.com, for an example. That's the English version of the platform that we put out there for entrepreneurs. We have a lot of free content there. You can just go and find it. But you need to ask buying questions, and you need to go for the deal. You need to close the deal. Ask for the deal. I know a lot of people that will watch this video later on. They will say, oh, but I always do that. That is not true. 87%, listen, 87% of all salespeople fail, and I would say it's the same in the startup and entrepreneur society as well, which means that we are not that good in asking questions. We are not that good in engaging with the customer and so on. So there's a lot of different keys in this. But if you take these 5 steps, I promise you, you are going to close more deals, and you're going to have a more successful business for sure. So I'm just going to repeat it, and then we're off. So, first one, what customers do you want and why? Second one, what is the true value that you can bring to the market and why? Third one, except for the price, what other value is there and why? Now, the 2 last ones is within your attitude. Now, create urgency, ask questions. And number 5, ask for the deal. Damn it. Ask for the deal and make sure to close the deal. Don't stall, don't do anything, just go straight forward. Help the customer to make the decision. And I promise you guys, you will close more deals. I see this all the time within the startup and business entrepreneur community. I see it with salespeople as well. You can study all the best, and they all have these ingredients in there. Now, it's time for me to finish my coffee, and yeah, enjoy your Friday, guys. Take care.